Hi, Year 7, and welcome to today's lesson on the menstrual cycle. So, to start with, we're going to do some revision from the previous lesson. And what I want you to do for me is write A to E down, and I want you to try and label the different parts of the female reproductive system. So, A, B, C, D, E. Can you try and label for me those different parts of the female reproductive system? Pause the video now and write down your answers. Okay, let's go through the answers now. The first one is the vagina, okay, the opening into the female reproductive system. You've then got the cervix as B, C, the uterus or the womb, D is the ovary, and E is the fallopian tube. So let's jump into the menstrual cycle. So what makes girls start periods? Basically, it's these things called hormones. And the main two female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. So hormones are what's called chemical messengers. So they work differently to, for example, a reflex action. If you see a ball being thrown towards your head, you will duck and move out of the way. That's a really quick response. Okay, that's a reflex action. Hormones are different types of messengers. They're like, say, for example, if you send a letter through the post. They are a lot slower than, say, if you just called somebody. So these hormones, these chemical messengers, they're a lot slower. They move through the blood system. So they actually move through your blood system. And the two main female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. So they basically tell the female body to start the period. So they tell the female body to release an egg from the ovary towards the womb. But then they also then tell the body to start menstruation, which is part of the female reproductive cycle. So periods can start anywhere from ages 10 to 19 usually. There's obviously always exceptions, and there's obviously always different ages at which the menstrual cycle starts. So periods can last for up to a week, but they're usually around 3 to 4 days. And again, this varies female to female. So the menstrual cycle is basically on different days, different things will happen to the female body during the menstrual cycle. So they last anywhere between 28 to 32 days, and it's controlled by those sex hormones, so the estrogen and progesterone that are made in the brain and the ovaries. So right at the start, in menstruation, it's the soft lining of the uterus is breaking apart and then passing out of the vagina along with a little bit of blood. So this is what they call having a period. So it usually lasts for 3 to 7 days. And again, each female is different and each menstrual cycle is slightly different. So the period is the breaking down of the uterus, the lining of the uterus. So during the menstrual cycle, so the lining of the uterus will build up in preparation for an egg, a fertilized egg. And then if it does not receive a fertilized egg, the lining of the uterus will then break down. So immediately after menstruation, an egg cell starts to mature in one of the ovaries, as you can see right in the top left. And then the lining of the uterus will start to build up. So it takes about 14 days to build up, and then the egg is released. And this is what's called ovulation. So this timing, this is when a female is most likely to become pregnant. Now, a female can become pregnant at any stage during her cycle. However, this is when she is most likely to become pregnant. So the egg cell is swept along the oviduct towards the uterus, along those cilia that we learnt about in a previous lesson. And then if it meets a sperm cell, it will be fertilized. The soft lining of the uterus is able to feed a fertilized egg, which is why it builds up during the menstrual cycle. And then if it doesn't receive a fertilized egg, it is then stripped away in menstruation and then builds up again freshly so that it can sustain a fertilized egg. So about 14 days after ovulation, if the egg has not been fertilized by a sperm cell, the lining of the uterus will break down again and the cycle will start again with another period. And if the woman becomes pregnant, the cycle will stop. So this is just kind of a summary again of the different stages of the menstrual cycle. Ways in which the menstrual cycle is controlled. So in order to kind of catch the lining of the uterus that is stripped out during the menstrual cycle, women tend to use two different things, either a sanitary towel or a tampon to absorb the blood during a period. There are other ways in which they do it. However, these are the two most common ways in which women control the absorption of blood during the period. So, contraception. So, pregnancy is a result of sexual intercourse. And until people decide that they want to have a baby, they make steps in order to avoid pregnancy. And this is what's called contraception. So, contraception is just methods used in order to avoid pregnancy. The two most common forms of contraception are condoms and the contraceptive pill. So, the condom you can see there on the left in a packet, and the pill or the contraceptive pill on the right. Now, there are lots of different types of both of these. However, even though they've all got different types, they all work in the same way. So condoms. So a condom is a thin layer of latex rubber that fits over an erect penis. It forms a physical barrier between the penis and a vagina. So this is called a barrier method of contraception because it physically prevents semen from being released into a woman's vagina. When used correctly, condoms are really effective method of contraception. And the other really good thing about condoms is that they prevent the transfer of sexually transmitted infections such as STIs. So condoms are a really good method of contraception because they stop the transfer of sexually transmitted infections, but also because they stop unwanted pregnancies. So they're taken out of a packet and placed or unrolled onto a penis or erect penis before sex happens. The other way is the pill, a contraceptive pill. It's a pill that's taken daily by females and needs to be taken daily at the same time in order for it to work. It contains hormones which prevents pregnancy by stopping ovulation. So when they're used correctly, they're really effective method of contraception. However, and this is the big caveat, is that they don't provide any protection against the transfers of STIs. So even though they stop unwanted pregnancies very well, they do not stop the transfer of sexually transmitted infections. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson and learnt a few things about contraception and also the menstrual cycle. Make sure you keep those notes for your end of topic test in about 3 weeks' time.